Right, video 31 part 4. God, this is turning into War and Peace, this one. I love the RADS. Anyway, where was I? And then we got to the Coke bottle next morning. Right. Anyway, when the night was done, I used to love going home because my dad would hoist me up onto his shoulders and piggyback me home. My legs always went numb near the end of the journey, so when he lifted me off at the bottom of our passage, they would feel like jelly. I would either be strangling him or have my hands over his eyes on the way home so he couldn't see. That's true. I think it was to get so far and it was to say I was tired. And it was fantastic because my dad would give me a piggyback. And I'd be, well, not piggyback, I was literally sat on his shoulders. So I was like really, really high up. And as he'd be walking, I'd have my hands on his head so I didn't wobble about. And I'd put my hands over his eyes as well so he couldn't see where he's going. And he'd go, I don't know where I'm going. And in the road and off the pavement, back up again. And it was fantastic. And obviously I used to take it too far by not taking my hands off his eyes. And I always remember it would get virtually down, I suppose, halfway down Chippingham Street, and we'd get about a couple of doors before our house, and my dad would lift me off. And because I'd been on his shoulders for what seemed like, I don't know, almost been 5-10 minutes, but seemed like longer, my legs would be like jelly, and I couldn't walk, and I'd be there going, I can't walk, and I'd be struggling to get up the ginnel sort of thing, and listening to the echoing of my own footprints as they were bouncing about and that. And I think also as well, if I didn't get a piggyback, if we were walking back with my mum and that, then either my dad or my brother would go on ahead and they'd walk, like, you know, because you know what kids are like, I'm too tired, I was walking as slow as hell. Plus I was looking in every toy shop or the 2 toy shops on the way home. So my dad or my brother, or both of them, would walk ahead, and their job was to get home before everybody else, open the door, put the light on, and if it was summer they'd just leave the door open, obviously if it's winter not, and put kettle on. So when my mum got home, they'd have a cup of tea, which it's really strange, that, isn't it? You go out, you have a skinful of beer, I suppose they did, and you know, eat merrily and whatnot. Then when you come home, you always have to have that 1 cup of tea, and I never got that. But funny enough, I do it myself now. But it's coffee. You know, you go out, you have a few drinks, you come back and whatnot. You've been sat there for half an hour, and you go, "I'll just have a coffee," and you don't know whether it's to sober up or whether it's what it is. It just seems to be like a good night ritual sort of thing. Where was I? Anyway, yeah, my hands are. I'd be coming home and I'd always have my hands over his eyes on the way home. And when it was Christmas, it was always after about 1ish when we came home, or later if we'd gone to somebody else's house for a party from the club, or wherever we'd been. And we always walked home for what seemed like miles and miles. Especially later on when my mum kind of moved up Tipton Street in Brightside, and we'd go out round then, or vice versa, and we'd always have to walk round, I forgot what the road is now, but the main road going past all the, not Firth Brown, I think it was Firth Brown? All the steelworks on Brightside down into Attercliff, you know, just before you got to that big metal bridge that says Ferodo or something, and then we cut up towards where Attercliff Bath was. And it was always a ritual, when it was really, really deadly quiet, and we'd be shouting and screaming at the top of his voice, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year at the tops of his voices, and we'd see who could say it the loudest. And nobody ever told you to shut up, nobody ever bothered. It just seemed like a real exciting thing to do. And every now and again you'd get a taxi past you, and like one of these black cabs with the light off, and they were just few and far between, and they were always full. It says, when we eventually got home, I wouldn't be able to sleep because my legs ached that much, and thinking of the Christmas morning. True. Always, especially when it was Christmas Eve, and we'd go out there. I mean, Christmas Day we'd have the discos on, and I suppose Christmas Eve, I don't know what they had, they must have had some other turn on. But when it was Christmas Eve, it was brilliant. And they always used to say, right, we're going home early because you've got to get some sleep because he's got to get in in the morning and all this lot. And we never did. It was always about 1:30 when we got in. And I'd get in bed and my legs would be like jelly because I'd had a piggyback. I couldn't speak and I was hoarse because I'd been shouting Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and screaming and laughing all the way home. And I'd sit in bed, and if I could smuggle my bottle of Coke up, I'd be there swigging it with the last bits of the, what do they call it, beer mat all hanging in the bottom and whatnot. And be laid in bed, legs tingling, really, really sore. And I used to sleep near the window, so I used to have my elbows on the windowsill. And the glass always used to be frosted because it was cold, and you always get that frozen condensation on the inside. And I'd be just sat there trying not to breathe because it used to mist all the window, and I'd be looking at the sky, and they have the canal and the tree and the pylon I've talked about, you know, and the stars in the skies if it was clear. And I always used to try and look out for him and think he was going to come over the top, you know. And in his sleigh, my mum would always say, you know, he won't be over. He's not going to be over, you know, not if you're not going to go to sleep and all this lot. And they'd still be downstairs probably having a drink, and well, most of the time they'd be having a bloody party, and there'd be all people and everybody downstairs having a laugh and joking and yelling and shouting and knocking things over, but we'd be upstairs because we had to bloody sleep, sort of thing. And it was fantastic, and I'd be there and I'd be absolutely, my elbows would be freezing cold, and I'd kind of get both like old nylon curtains from the sides, and I'd kind of bunch them together, and I'd be holding them in the middle, so I had a curtain down each side just to try and keep warm, because I'd always have my pyjamas on. And it was just one of them memories where you knew next day, you know, you were going to get up, and you know, everything was going to be there, you know, for Christmas. We never had a lot, sort of thing, but we always, like I said, we always had love, and we always had, you know, the main things what we wanted. And it was just fantastic. I tried to keep that, you know, sort of spirit alive with my kids as well. My daughter, bless her. And even though she's getting older now, so it's all changing. But it's just fantastic. And it's memories like them, you know, that I wanted to, you know, put this down. And I mean, I've told you in one of the first videos about, you know, I'll be sat on the steps the next morning waiting for my mum and dad to wake up and breathing, smelling under the door. And I knew if they'd lit up a cigarette, because they did then, the bedroom door would be shut, you know, I knew they would awake, so I'd go get back in bed because I knew they'd be getting up soon and we could find out what we got and what Santa had brought us and all this lot. But it's just memories like that. It's just fantastic, you know, and this is one of the reasons why I did this YouTube thing, project, just to put it all down, you know, what I'd written down and what I remember myself after all these years. You know, it was just, you know, just brilliant, and I don't think it should be forgotten. And it's nice to know that other people out there remember the same things, and you know, the people that have come back with the same things that they got, same places that they went. And I mean, not necessarily remember me. Since I've started this, I've had not many people actually remember me personally, apart from a couple that mine are known at school. But it's just nice to know that people went to the same place, remember the same things, remember the streets, remember the shops, and just share that same magic, you know, at certain times is what we used to do. And I thank everybody that's been on Sheffield History and that's come back, and Sheffield Forum, and I've emailed me from this site as well. I keep, you know, a few I keep in contact with, I've contacted. Anyway, that's rounding the RADS up really. That was in 4 parts. I think that's the longest we've done ever. And I think I've got one more left, which just takes us back to the beginning. And I think there'll be one just rounding everything up thereafter. So I hope you enjoyed that. Sorry if I ramble on a bit. It is a little bit strange. I've so many memories, and I don't, you know, sometimes know what to come through with. But it's things like that you kind of remember as you go along, and I share with on the forum. So check out the Sheffield Forum website. Check out the Sheffield History website, and I will see you on the next video. Thank you very much.